We're here at the Mackinac Policy Conference with a good friend of the Chronicle, Mr. Sylvester Hester. How you doing today, man?
Jeremy, it's always good to be here, my friend. We're here in wonderful Mackinac again for this great activity that's going on here today, man. I always enjoy coming up here. How many years you been coming up here now?
Oh man, it's probably about my 7th or 8th time up here in
Yeah.
Mackinac. Not quite as many as you, but
No, I got a few more than that, but it's always a good time up here.
I want to talk about what's going on with LM Manufacturing right now, man. You guys are doing wonderful things in the city of Detroit,
Absolutely.
constantly expanding, creating jobs for the community. What's new and exciting right now with LM Manufacturing?
Well, I think the first thing that I want to say, just for hats off to the team, because we just completed a very complicated launch. It was a new place, new people, new process, and new product. And it also we attached to our customer who was already running the number of units per hour.
Mm.
Okay. So we came on board, and so we had to get people, get them working in the process, have the financial constraints to make sure that we had a very quiet launch. We started the conversation in July of 2019, and we didn't launch until July of 2023.
Okay.
And so you can think of all the planning and preparation and the assessment that comes along with that. And then you have to launch successfully by not impacting your customer at all. And the team was able to do that. So officially, and I'm on my congratulatory tour to my team, whenever I get a chance to talk about it, I tell them, thank you for that hard work and that dedication, because we just had a quiet launch. We're now a year in, and everything is going well. And now it's time to grow. So you hit it right.
I think that's one of the most exciting things about being in entrepreneurship, right? You have the opportunity to continue to reinvent yourself through growth, through new products, through new launches. How is the 2025 version of LM Manufacturing different from previous generations or iterations of what the business looked like?
Well, that's a great question. I think the 2022-05 version is to understand, the global trends that we're dealing with right now, understanding the pressure points, the barriers that the current geopolitical headwinds, that the financial constraints that we all deal with in business, in understanding what barriers they create and then finding solutions to support them. And so LM Manufacturing, the leadership team we had, I just gave them a hats off. It's time to go back to work and find those solutions to some of the problems that we're dealing with right now.
And some of the problems are just unseen, right? Like a lot of things are happening in Washington that will directly impact what's going on in Michigan and Detroit and globally for that matter. But how has your business been impacted by the change in administration at the national level?
That's right. But understand, it's always going to be a change. Matter of fact, in our country, it's going to change every 4 years. For every 8 years, you're going to have a change. So understanding how to manage and deal with change is part of our DNA. We understand that. By focusing on the global trends and how they go from national to state, then down to local politics, we understand that, and it impacts us in terms of, the supply chain. The supply chain will be altered. There's talks of tariffs right now for the purpose of bringing manufacturing jobs back. Good notion, and I believe and hope and pray it's going to work, right? I'm starting to see remnants of that already because, again, nearshoring is something we've been focusing on for a while, and I'm starting to see some of that. And as an industry and as a company, we prepared for that. There's a couple of things that you have to do up front. There's an old saying that, my mentor, Dr. Bakar, used to say, the more you bleed in peacetime, the less you bleed in war, right? So you have to prepare. So again, we've been operating on solid cash management positions for a while. We're constantly reinvesting and developing in people, because again, we're dealing with what we would describe as complex business problems. Well, how do you combat complex business problems with small, collaborative, smart work groups, kind of like Navy SEAL teams? So making those investments in people and not only giving them, a job and a living wage, but also, during the time where we sit back and ask them where they want to be in 5 years. So the upskilling and reskilling to go along with that then helps you realize the returns of that investment in times of growth, because now you have more stable operations,
Hmm.
you have more profitable operations, right? Because you're avoiding some of the normal pitfalls of inefficiency, right? And you
Absolutely.
do that when people are concerned and motivated and want to do a good job. Because you can't make a grown man or grown woman do anything they don't want to do. But
Right.
if you create an environment where they want to do it and want to do a good job, that's the goal.
And you don't want to force them to do anything. You
No,
want them to be able to understand the vision and move forward with it.
absolutely.
Yeah. What I want to know too is, the city of Detroit's going to be getting a new leader
Hmm.
after Mike Duggan decided that, it was his time to attempt to move up to the next level of governor.
Absolutely.
We're also going to be getting a new governor.
Absolutely.
The state of Michigan, in the last decade has gone back to, some historic roots and
Hmm.
said we want to really lean in heavily again into manufacturing
Absolutely.
and becoming a manufacturing state and embracing that identity that, we've always had.
That's right.
How much does the next mayor need to lean into that to ensure that the city of Detroit, and how much does the next governor need to lean into that to make sure that the state of Michigan continues this upward trajectory?
Both the mayor and the new governor, both need to be business focused, and they need to lean in heavily to assure that Michigan becomes a top 10 state. I mean, that's it. It's espoused through the business leaders of Michigan, which I'm a member of. And Michigan becoming a top 10 state creates that environment in which we can all thrive. It's going to have hundreds of thousands of people less in poverty when we are a top 10 state. We're going to have over hundreds of thousands additional people that have got some post-secondary education attainment by becoming a top 10 state. So those are the things that we need to lean in on as a business community, because they say right now, where you work determines how you live and how you play. So if we
Hmm.
get the workforce development aspect of it right, we'll be one step ahead of the other states that's looking to do the same thing we're trying to do.
And you play a pivotal role in helping create a pipeline to manufacturing. Talk about your relationship with DPSCD and the program that you implement to ensure that the pipeline of
Yeah.
future manufacturing leaders is developed.
Man, you got all the right questions, don't you? Did you see that pen I got
I
right
see
here?
a being a proud supporter.
DPSCD, you better know it. Yeah, we understand right now, when I see my employees, we operate on what we call the 5 Cs: care, commit, connect, communicate, and celebrate. And that's based on the platform of HW, which is health, wealth, and education. So when people can't describe your culture, then your culture may be one of the things you need to work on. But we can describe it. We try to live it every day. We're not perfect, but we try to live it every day. One of the things in living that culture of what we call 5 Cs is that we see our employees, but we see them in 3 parts. We see them as that employee that needs to be developed and want get promoted, and we can train and continue to upskill and reskill them. But also they're young parents. So again, we understand by going back into the school system right here at DPSCD, we have an MOU with them. We have a program called Expose to Inspire. It has 5 steps to it. Starts off at Manufacturing Day in October, and then we then go into the school for step 2, where we're asking to speak to sometimes those students that are in credit recovery. We don't exclude anyone,
Hmm.
right? A and B students are generally doing fine, but we like those students, kind of like myself, that maybe dealt with credit recovery a little bit, okay? And then we invite them out to do a job shadow. And we're having about 45 to 50% impact rate, where their students are saying, hey, listen, let's come back in and do a job shadow. But
Hmm.
again, that's close to 60, 70 kids that come back in from the schools. Then we go to step 3, we look at projects of value. Step 4, we then do an internship. And then step 5, we actually hire them for the summer and then bring them right on board. And those are the types of meaningful programs that are going to give this impact that we want to continue developing that workforce of the future.
And so even if you can't obviously hire every student that comes through the program, but you still expose them
That's right.
to a career opportunity that they may
Absolutely.
not have known existed prior to that exposure.
Absolutely. Exposed to Inspire is just that. We have HR, we have accounting, we have engineering, we have quality, we have supply chain. We have all of these wonderful professionals that work inside of our company. I just don't go back into the schools myself. I take hourly employees with me. We take salary employees with me, and they sit back and they all take a minute explaining and sharing with the students what it's like to be a logistician, what it's like to be an engineering manager, and in hopes of inspiring them to become one themselves, or at least, the automotive industry is sexy, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't get it. People don't understand. It's when you get in there and you're converting raw material into finished goods, and you're the symphony of movement of parts all over the world for a specific build rate or install location inside of one of the OEMs. That's exciting stuff. So exposing them to the wonderful world of automotive STEM related occupations and careers is exciting, man.
Yeah, and I think it is. It's going to take a mind shift for people to really understand that, because you mentioned upskilling and reskilling,
Right.
and those things come along with the advancement of the automotive industry. Because I think a lot of people often think of it as what it was in the 1990s or what it was in the 1980s, and it's so far advanced and evolved from where it was then to where it is now.
Absolutely. We'd like to say, hey, the more you get to know us, the more you're going to like us, right? You come into the plant, which we have the facility downtown Detroit, the old Sati Automotive facility. It's a 300,000 square foot facility. And I got to give another shout out to Kofi Bonner at Bedrock, the entire Dan Gilbert organization, man. They've just done a wonderful job. Just a blessing here to us in the city, for those of us that are job creators. So the facility that we have on 4th Street, the old Sati Automotive, it accommodates tours very, very well. So, it's easy for me to say, hey, during our Exposed to Inspire program, bring the kids in. We can bring them in. We have a training station right up front. We can expose them what it's like to build high quality seats as a tier 1 supplier for the automotive industry. And then we can take them down to the line without impacting our line at all, and without having all the safety protocols in place. And then we can bring them back and sit them in a room where we can sit down and bring some of those concerned career leaders and talk to them about what it's like to be in that profession. It's a perfect field trip, and we've been taking advantage of that, man. And these are the types of things that we should be doing. It should mean something to have a business like ours in the city of Detroit.
And it does mean something,
does.
and I hope you understand that too, for all that you do. There are a lot of people who look up to you. You said you might not have been that A or B student, but I heard a stat that said something like most millionaires were C students in high school. So
Hey, I understand that.
I think it's a good aspiration to, look for opportunities no matter what level you're at as a student.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
How can people learn more about Exposed to Inspire?
What's most inspiring, I tell you what, we're going to get more information out there in social media. It's just been kind of like an in-house program that we've developed because we're very passionate about it, but we weren't trying to get any recognition or notoriety for it. But what we're finding out that the model works, right?
Absolutely.
So when we actually created the MOU with DPSCD, and I was very happy that they made us go through that process, because it forced us to think through every aspect of the program that matched up. It forced us to go and get all of our background checks for the people that's going to be dealing with the kids, because safety is very important. And the people at DPSCD, they're good stewards of our most treasured possession, our kids. So it forced us to think about it. So that's something that we are going to put more tenets of the program out on Exposed to Inspire, because I would love other companies to do the same thing, because there's a measure of success that we're all getting from that, and the kids are benefiting.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Sylvester Hester, we thank you for your time. Thank you, as always, for stopping by the Michigan Chronicle and sharing your light with us.
Come on, man. This is home. You got it.
All right. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All
All right. God bless you. Bye-bye.